Hello, everyone. My name is Ana Martha Ayala, and I'd like to welcome you to my YouTube channel. As a reminder, I do every video in English and Spanish, and the degree theory is based on modern Western astrology using the Placidus house system. In today's video, I wanted to talk to you about the eclipse that we're going to have in Virgo on March 14th of 2025 at 23 degrees and 58 minutes. Now, what I wanted to do first is to show you the chart, and I am going to go here and show you. What I do is I go on astroseek.com, astro-seek.com, and then you pull down this menu, and here it shows you all the full moons, all the new moons, and the solar eclipses. So this is where I'm at. Solar eclipse for 2025. I click on the eclipse chart, and then this is what comes up. This is the eclipse for March 14th of 2025. It will happen at 6:59 GMT time. So what a full moon eclipse is the sun is in opposition to the moon, right? So that is what the full moon eclipse is at. The sun is in opposition to the moon. So usually it brings up things that were hidden. Now, the sun is in Pisces and the moon is in Virgo and is at 23 degrees, the degree of Aquarius. Now, what houses will this eclipse affect? It will be the Virgo house. So depending on your rising sign, then this is what will come up in your life. Now, the other thing that you need to look at is if you have any planets in Sag and Gemini as well, because this eclipse is going to square, right? It's going to square Gemini and it's going to square Sagittarius. So also, if you have these points at an angle, meaning the first house, seventh house, 10th house, and the IC, the fourth house, then this eclipse will also be relevant for you. It's basically affecting the mutable signs, which are Gemini, Virgo, Sag, and Pisces. So and it's 23 degrees, so plus or minus 3 degrees. If you have a planet in any of these signs or you have the angles within 3 degrees, then this eclipse will be relevant for you. Now, let's talk about the axis of where this eclipse is going to fall. So if you are a Virgo or Pisces rising, you will have to deal with relationships because it's the first and the seventh house, right? So this means, your marriage, your long-term relationships in love and business. In the second and eighth house, the eclipse will deal with your money and your partner's money. So this means, your paycheck may be affected or your partner's finances may be affected. If it's the eclipse, if you have Virgo and Pisces on the third and ninth house, then basically you can be, traveling short distance or long distance. It depends, right? You can have issues come up with your siblings or extended family, like your aunts, your uncles, your cousins, your neighbors is also a third house thing. Also, computers, your cars, transportation. If the eclipse falls in your fourth house or 10th house, this axis, then we're talking about family responsibility versus work responsibilities. We're talking about your parents, your physical home as well, the structure. If the eclipses fall in the 5th and the 11th houses, right? Then you're dealing with your kids, your hopes, your dreams, your goals, 11th house, group organization, your vacations is also 5th house, hobbies, recreational sports, things we do for fun. And if the eclipses fall in the 6th and 12th house, then these are houses that deal with health. 6th house is health, work, daily routines. 12th house is spiritual practice, dreams, the subconscious, your mind. Now, one of the things that I wanted to bring up, this eclipse starts off a very fragile period for the next 6 months. Okay. From March to September, it's, hang on tight because I anticipate that, things are gonna be very, very, I don't want to say difficult, but there's certainly gonna be a lot of volatility. So we have the aspects that we are encountering in 2025. We had the same aspects when the United States was in a civil war back in 1861 and also World War II. So I hope that history doesn't repeat itself. But in case it does, then we need to face those possibilities because, history does repeat itself, unfortunately. So on a mundane level, we're going to see events dealing with Pisces, which is migrants, immigration, deportation. Um, with Neptune in Pisces, still here, it's at the 29th degree, but this means that anything that Neptune touches, it dissolves, right? So the borders have been dissolved, but Saturn is here. So Saturn says, no, 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 no. We are going to be strict and we are going to define the borders. So here in the United States, immigration officials are deporting anyone who's an illegal immigrant. And I've also, seen a couple of news that, it's happening in Europe as well. It's happening everywhere. So it's not just a theme that belongs to the United States, it's applicable to other countries as well. So this will continue for the next, I guess, about a year, while the nodes are in Virgo and Pisces, this is a theme that will continue. Another thing that can come up is Russia, because Nicholas said that Russia was ruled by Pisces. And even though the Soviet Union chart, when it was dissolved, the sun was in Capricorn, December 26, 1991. I think he was talking more about the Russian Revolution. So this is where I find the Pisces sun. So I anticipate that the whole Ukraine-Russia war will end during the nodes being in Pisces and Virgo. So, if this holds true, which I have no reason to believe that it doesn't, then this full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo might be the start of the end of the Ukraine-Russia war because the 7th house rules open enemies. And if Russia is Pisces, then an open enemy is the 7th house. So I would think that the whole Ukraine-Russia thing will end, God willing. Now, on a personal note, we will see events, and we have been seeing events, the average worker, Virgo. There will be a lot of layoffs, not only from the federal government, but a lot of corporations will also do the same thing. People are going to get laid off. Um, the 12th house or Pisces, this rules health, hospital, medicine will be another big focus, right? What a coincidence that RFK Jr. is addressing these things, right? That we need to make America healthy again. So this goes to prove that nothing is a coincidence. Things happen because they're meant to happen. Now, Uranus is at 24 degrees in this eclipse, and it's a sextile to the moon and to Saturn. And Uranus is trining the moon in Virgo. So, Uranus is inching forward little by little to conjunct the most malefic star, the demon star, Algol, which sits at 26 degrees of Taurus. Now, that becomes a concern because we will have an eclipse 2 weeks after this one on March 29th in Aries at 8 degrees and 53 minutes. So between these eclipses, it's a very dangerous period for President Trump. All right, there may be another attempt on his life, God willing, that this is not the case, but these are the same aspects that were happening back in July of last year where the first attempt took place. Of course, I'll be doing another video, discussing these events more in detail when I talk about the eclipse that's going to happen on March 29th, but I just wanted to give you guys a heads up. So the sextile from Uranus can also mean that artificial intelligence is going to go on like full blast, right? Like they will release, because I think they've been releasing little by little all of these chat GPT and all this stuff, but I think that this sextile to this full moon is the completion of the way things used to be, and it's going to be the start of artificial intelligence at its maximum. So, of course, this will contribute to more people getting laid off. If your job can be done by a robot or a machine or whatever, then you are at risk. Um, Remember that the full moon is in Virgo, and Virgo is a sign of work. Okay, Virgos are workaholics. They work a lot. That's all they do. Work, 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 work. Oh, the one good thing though, is, well, there are many good things, but one good thing is I anticipate that the airplane crashes will diminish because Uranus has moved on to 24 degrees. It's not at 23 degrees. 23 degrees Aquarius. It rules everything that's in the sky. It rules airplanes. And I think Uranus was the one that was causing all these crashes. So I think that the aviation field, will do a lot better as far as not being full of airplane issues, right? So let me stop sharing the screen. So now I'm going to talk about the 12 ascendants, right? Let's see how each of you is going to fare on this eclipse and what it's going to affect. So for Aries, for Aries rising, Virgo is your sixth house, which deals with work, health, daily routines, things that you eat, the exercise that you do. The good thing is this is the opportunity to leave a bad habit behind because full moons end things. So this would be a great opportunity to stop smoking, stop drinking, stop doing drugs, leave behind, the not so great diet, right? To begin something to eat healthier, so you leave behind all the sweets, the sugar, um, the sodas, which are horrible for your health. Um, it could also be the completion of a health regimen. Maybe you were put on a strict diet. Maybe you were put, by your doctor on a health plan, and then you get to see the results that you've lost weight, that your cholesterol is down, that whatever the thing is, that you've completed that health regimen, and now you see because you started it at the new moon in Virgo, and now this is 6 months later, you have the full moon in Virgo, and now you're done. So one of the difficult things that can happen with a you know, the eclipse happening in your sixth house, especially if you have your sun in the sixth house, you can be let go of a job, right? So I just wanted to put it out there. Also, another difficult thing that can happen is that if you have a pet that is old and sick, they may pass, or you may have to put them down, or they can run away as well. You know, hopefully none of these not so great things happen, but remember that eclipses are fated events. All right. So Taurus, for Taurus rising, for Taurus, this happens, the eclipse happens in your fifth house. Your fifth house rules children, especially your firstborn, your romantic relationships, um, your boyfriend, girlfriends, your hobbies, things that you do for fun. So this eclipse can bring an end to your boyfriend, girlfriend, relationship if, of course, if the relationship is not doing well, okay? Doesn't mean that every Taurus rising is going to break up with their, you know, boyfriend or girlfriend. That's not what I'm saying. If the relationship is having issues, it's having problems, you know, you're not getting along, this eclipse might be the one that just ends it, right? So, um, or, you know, maybe the boyfriend girlfriend thing ends, but because you decide to move in together. And then it moves to your seventh house relationship, a long-term partner, right? So it's not always, you know, a horrible thing, right? So also, maybe the way that you love somebody, in other words, you give your all, you know, the person is your whole focus, right? And you're like, no, 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 no. I have to pay attention to me. I have to, you know, give, but I also need to receive. So maybe the way that you approach love changes, it ends, and you start a new way of loving somebody. Now, as far as your children are concerned, especially your firstborn, because the fifth house rules the firstborn, maybe they're going to move out of the house because they are going to go to college. Or maybe they want to go away to college in the fall, but the finances are not there. So you get, you know, you have a compromise with your child that they'll go to the local university, but maybe they get to stay on campus as a compromise. Um, Also, you know, a hobby might end because you decide to make it a business and you move forward with that hobby, but as a business. Now, for Gemini, this happens, this eclipse happens in your fourth house. The eclipse brings a square to any planet that is in your fourth house, and it's in also squaring your 10th. So you may need to balance your time more adequately between home and work. The fourth house brings endings as well. So if one of your parents is fighting a bad illness like cancer or something, you know, detrimental, dementia, Alzheimer's, those types of um, you know, diseases, then this may be a time when they pass. Um, Also, since the eclipse is happening in the fourth house, be careful with any accidents in the house, any falls for you or your parents. You know, not, I mean, if your parents are okay health-wise, um, you know, then the concern is a fall in the house. If their health is so-so, then there might be a health crisis. On a happier note, you can be closing on a property that you purchased and you end renting and you start owning your own property. So that would be a very nice way that this eclipse can affect you. For Cancer, the eclipse happens in your third house. So this is one of the better houses to to get, for the eclipse to happen, because third house is all about communication. It's all about learning, your siblings, your extended family, like aunts, uncles, cousins, your neighbors too. So this speaks about a completion of maybe a presentation, a book, because communication, writing, a script that you have been writing. Perhaps you're finishing a foreign language course or a short course on something that you wanted to take, like cooking classes, training your pets, because the moon rules dogs. So that could also be the case. Um, Maybe you're finishing a trip, a short trip. This is when you complete a trip to a nearby place. The eclipse can also bring issues with your car or one of your siblings or extended family members. So just be mindful that this is a possibility as well. For Leo, the eclipse happens in your second house. So for Leo, this is money. This speaks about your budget, the way you earn and the way you spend money. You will make decisions or perhaps, not buying certain products or curtailing your spending, because something in your spending habit needs to end. Okay. Um, you may also stop, because second house is also the things that we eat. So you may stop eating unhealthy foods like sodas, chips, pastries, the comfort foods, right? Um, Perhaps you will need to buy something for work because it's Virgo. So maybe you need to get something that can be a little pricey because it's a second house. But either way, you will be working on straightening out your finances one way or another, the amount that you make, and the amount that you spend. Now, for Virgo, the eclipse is happening in your sign, the first house. So therefore, is there a habit, a daily routine, a diet, an exercise program? All of those things may end, or some of them, not all of them, but one of those things may end. Maybe the habit of working so much, being a workaholic, maybe you tone it down, right? This can also, by the way, this can also involve a long-term relationship because the eclipse is going to be opposite the seventh house. So, any relationship in love or business that ends will be a permanent thing. There is no going back. Because remember, these eclipses are fated. So if you end up dissolving a business relationship, or your partner asks, well, your spouse asks you for a divorce, now you know this was the trigger and there will be no going back. For Libra, for Libra, this eclipse is happening in your 12th house. So an eclipse here can be a little difficult because full moon eclipses bring things to light. So maybe old fears can come up. Or perhaps you started the therapy back when the new moon in Virgo happened, and now you're completing the therapy session. Maybe you're ending rehab for drug or alcohol addiction, to be sober, to be good, because it's going to make you healthier. Maybe you're completing a yoga teacher program, and now you can become a yoga teacher. Or maybe you are ending a meditation course. This can also be a trip to ending a trip to a foreign country, a really, really far away place, right? Because 12th house is foreign countries that are really far away. Ninth house, like here in the United States, ninth house would be Europe. 12th house would be like, China, the Middle East, like way out there that you have to travel really, really far. So for Scorpio, the eclipse is going to happen in the 11th house. And this has to do with 11th house has to do with hope, dreams, friends, social groups. Um, there can be a friendship that ends, or maybe it goes to another stage. Maybe you fell in love with a friend of yours and a relationship develops. Or you can end a participation in a group that, no longer suits you or that you don't have time for, or you aren't interested in anymore. Hopefully, this eclipse brings the culmination of a hope or a dream that you had, and you finally get to see it to fruition, right? So you complete a goal that you had. Now, for Sagittarius, this eclipse is going to happen in the 10th house. So for you, this house is all about career and status. And it's also the parental axis. The fourth and the 10th houses are the, parental axis. So your career may be coming to a close because you decide to retire. You had enough of the daily grind, and, that's it, you retire. Or you quit your job because you're starting a new one, something that maybe you got promoted or you're getting promoted as well. The eclipse brings an opposition. The eclipse brings an opposition, right, to the fourth house. So again, if one of your parents is fighting a bad illness like cancer, dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, those really devastating ones, they can pass. Just be aware of that. It could also mean that your status in society will change. So the eclipses are triggers. If you're single, perhaps you are going to get married. See if this is the eclipse before you end up getting married. Or you can have a baby as well, because it's a change in status, the way society sees you. Now, for Capricorn, the eclipse is in your ninth house. So again, this is one of the best houses to have an eclipse in because it's not devastating or anything like that. So a long distance trip. Ninth house deals with long distance trips, with legal matters, with university studies, um, personal beliefs as well. So this can mean that you're concluding a long business trip, or a legal case is coming to an end. You can change your major at the university, right? You close out one thing of study and you start another one, or it could be that you're going to be graduating in May of 2025 and you get your degree. Uh, this unfortunately can also mean that you drop out of school, which I hope that this is not the case, that you maybe request a leave of absence from school so that you don't regret things later. All right, for Aquarius rising, this eclipse is going to happen in your eighth house, and this is all about joint finances, inheritances, investments, death, sex, taxes. You will take a look at your investments and close out a position, or maybe revise your plan, like you get rid of the old plan and you start a new plan. Um, oh my God, maybe you just file your taxes, right? Because it's tax season here in the United States, and you get that done, right? There can be a death in your surroundings, not your death, but you hear of somebody passing away. So I want to make that clear. Or maybe you can finish your will. You're making your will, and to make sure that everything is good to go. Or maybe there's an inheritance that is in the works and it finally gets paid out. This also could be an insurance claim that is finalized and you get the money. Now, for For Pisces, the eclipse happens in your seventh house. So again, this is long-term relationships, right? In love and business. But this could mean that you are leaving a business relationship, or you find out that you lose one of your biggest clients. Hopefully not, but I'm just saying these are the potentials. If you are in a long-term relationship and it is romantically and it is not going well, then this can mean that you break up with the person, you move out, or they ask you for a divorce, you know. Unfortunately, eclipses, breakups, things that end in an eclipse are final. There's no going back. All right, well, I conclude this video with this. I hope that this is helpful for you guys. I will be doing the next video on the March 29th eclipse, which is is a doozy. I don't like that eclipse at all. This one's not bad the way I see it. But anyhow, if you've learned something from the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and send it to somebody else that it might help. If you would like a natal chart reading with me, please send me an email to amaastrology@aol.com. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.